In this video, we're going to take a look at the Apex WSX25 side mount system. The one I'm using is a final prototype right before they released it. So there's been a few modifications that I will go through. The wing gives around 12 kilos of lift, which is similar to the X-Deep Stealth Rex system. This is around 6 to 7 kilos less than the Stealth Tech system. So you should find that diving this with a wetsuit and 3 cylinders should be okay. Any more cylinders, you definitely want to be wearing a dry suit. Now let's go into the features of the side mount harness and accessories that come with it. You do get quite a large pouch, which is well made from strong materials. This has plenty of room to fit in everything you want to carry, and I do have a video on what you should put in your pouch based on what type of diver you are, recreational, technical or cave, so make sure you check that out. I got this system from Apex to test and review several months before the final version was released. I actually spent about 3 weeks diving the system most days, doing some quite interesting and challenging cave diving in Mexico. I then made a series of pictures with my detailed reviews and feedback in written form directly onto the photographs, so the designers at Apex could hear what I had to say and maybe make some changes to their system. I'll be sharing with you all those pictures in this review. This is one of the pictures where I comment on the air migration inside the wing and the fact that the air migrates around the top of the wing, which gives more lift higher up the body than lower down that you typically get with most other side mount systems. One of the changes I made was to the BCD low pressure inflator, and instead of using the bungee with bolt snap system you get, I tend to use 2 bungee loops. The main benefit with this is that you actually get more stretch using 2 bungees than you do with a hard bolt snap fixed to the shoulder D-ring. What you're looking at now is my feedback picture, and you can see the bungee actually goes through the tri-glide, which keeps the chest D-ring completely free. I think anybody who tries this method will not go back to using the bolt snap and bungee, and you also gain a bolt snap you can use for something else. Making sure you have the right length low pressure inflator corrugated hose is really important. I hope they'll offer different options for this because you want the low pressure inflator to sit directly under the chin. Any good dive center would swap this out for you though at the time of purchase, I'm sure. I advised to Apex that they used a loop bungee system as opposed to a continuous bungee they provide with the unit. This was the picture I sent them. If you look at the actual picture in the middle, you can see the horizontal dashed red line that goes through the top plate. They have sort of 4 holes here, which would be suitable for putting a loop bungee through, but what I was explaining was this is generally at the wrong height for nearly all people. The white line below that is kind of where you want the loop bungee to go, directly underneath the base of both armpits, as this is where you want the cylinder valves to be sitting when they have tension from the bungee. You can see the ideal bungee location in the far left picture, not using the holes in the top plate. If you look at the picture on the far right, you can see that the height the loop bungee comes out, you need to add a tri-glide quite a lot lower than the chest D-ring. This helps to keep the bungee at the correct height and does not pin down the chest D-ring. To add a loop bungee, you need a place to have the bungee connect to the center webbing, and to do that I used a custom tri-glide that you can see here. You can also see this is positioned several inches below the stainless steel top plate. If you watch my Razor 2 system modifications in my BCD workshop, you'll see there's different custom parts you can use for making your loop bungee. Also in that workshop video, you'll find out what thickness of bungee to use for cold water or warm water and exactly what length you should make it. I tried various methods to also simplify the wing attachment point. I found using knots like this was quite good, as you could have one that was useful when you're using a stage cylinder and one when you were not. In the Razor modification video, I show an additional wing tab which I prefer even more than this bolt snap option, so make sure you check that video out as well. It's nice to be able to easily adjust the length though, if you've got different people who might be using the same BCD, so bear that in mind as you make your bungee. Let's talk a little bit more about the harness itself. The actual stainless steel plates are very large in size, and for such a simple harness, you can see on the left hand side I have the Ultimate harness. It's very minimalist in design, so you don't really need really large plates, and all those plates weigh up to quite a lot. I mean, 3.8 kilos is what the Apex side mount system is, and if you're traveling, that makes a huge difference in your luggage. One of the things I was really excited to see and test out was the sliding D-ring, and they're using some stainless steel, and the bungee behind it kind of tensions it and keeps it slightly bent so that it stays in place unless you physically bend it and then move it into position, and then it should lock in place. The problem is though, I found that on the very first dive I made, even with aluminium cylinders, it was way too slack, and I had to tighten it up quite a lot just to get it to work. But I think not just the bungee thickness and tightness, but the groove in the stainless steel needs to be smaller, so it actually gives it more resistance when it moves along the nylon webbing. I'm sure the bungee will wear with time, but you can easily replace this at low cost. Currently, I'm not confident this would work well with steel cylinders though. If we look at the base of the wing, generally with all side mount systems, you need to retain this down well onto the harness, and I found that if you put it through the butt D-ring, it was generally about the right height, and then you could just tension the bungee to keep the base of the wing down. One of the things I did point out to Apex was that the dump valve, even though it's on the top of the harness, because the wing is cut the way it is, when you have air in the wing, it migrates higher up the wing. So if you've got a slightly heads up position, the dump valve doesn't work that great. Having said that, since there's no bladder inside the wing, it's just a single skin design, as you turn your head down and then pull the dump, the air migrates very quickly to the base, and the air does release well. I noticed that after my first day of cave diving, putting this wing through its paces in small cave, that I'd actually got quite a lot of scratches built up on the dump valve. The model they've released, I noticed they have covered this by 70%, but they've made no changes to the actual shape and design of the wing. It does come with an extra dump valve on the side of the wing, and you can change the low pressure inflator location so it comes from the right side, not the left, should you want to. When you change orientations in the wing, the air does move quickly from side to side, so this is actually quite good for stabilizing position. We'll take a closer look at the weighting options. One of the things I did was add one of the single weight pockets directly in the center of the spine, and for Mexico I actually didn't need any weight at all, but I wouldn't need much given the stainless steel plates are already quite heavy. You could move these single weight pockets to different locations, maybe even the shoulders, if you wanted to counteract some of the wing's lift being higher up on the body. They give you a large central weight pocket which bolts at the top and the bottom. It is flexible, and it's designed to go on the 2-inch webbing. It will just run through the gaps you can see there. This goes on the outside of the harness and the underside of the wing, so it's protected. Here I was showing a direct comparison, and that there's more volume of lift at the base of the Stealth wing than there is on the Apex. You can see that in how the shapes differ, and the fact that on the Stealth the middle section is only partly inflated at either side, not in the middle. This review picture clearly shows what I am talking about with the lift the Apex has and where the exact buoyancy lifts from. You can see the highest point is actually near the top point of the wing. This shot was taken with 200 bar in each of my aluminium cylinders at a depth of 8 meters, and I'm correctly weighted. Now if you compare this to the Stealth system, again taken at a similar depth with a similar amount of air, using the same exposure suit. You can see that it's very flat across the back and there's a little bit more lift at the base of the wing. You can also see here, if you look at the dump valve, it is at the highest point, but it's actually protected underneath the top side of the wing, which is different to the apex. You can see that sits at a much higher point, and again they have shielded this, but I think it would have been better to redesign the bottom so it's more similar to the Stealth. The area the white arrow points to does not give any lift. The lift is in the orange areas as I'm showing there, and this is where you want the lift for the majority of people in side mount, as if you think about it, the base of the wing should be near the base of the cylinder. As the cylinders get lighter, you just remove more and more air from the wing and they directly substitute each other. The only advantage to having the wing lift higher up the body is if you're top heavy, but this is not likely for the majority of divers, and you can mostly fix that by moving the weight in a different position on the harness. I see quite a lot of pictures of divers at the end of dives or in a dry suit and they've got no air in the BCD at all. It's very hard to test a BCD if you're not putting air into it. Agreed, at the end of a dive, the wing should be empty. To summarise, I think the Apex is a very good quality product. It has some very good stainless steel parts. I think the wing design could have been improved, and I did suggest that they change the shape to a more lower cut, bringing the dump valve down and actually improving the lift characteristics of the wing. In terms of fitting the harness to smaller divers, there's no real problems here. The corrugated hose was very long, so you definitely need to get a shorter one. The harness will adjust and fit any size. The wing also fits smaller body sizes quite well, and that's probably due to its lower lift capacity at 12 kilos. Like I showed earlier, even with a smaller lady, I still didn't put the loop bungee through the top plate. I had it on the custom Tri-Glide, which gives you the correct height for your cylinders.